Hey, welcome back to Destination Pro Wrestling. In this video, we got some major news about an AEW streaming application, a new streaming service by AEW in the works. Guys, spoiler alert, I'm going to buy it, but the real question is, will you? We're going to talk about all those details later on in this video. Also, Max Caster challenges The Rock, and then Lio Rush reveals the real reason why he is signed with AEW. And guys, you might be wondering why that's even news. Well, what he says about Triple H and Vince McMahon, it definitely gets you thinking, and I want to have that conversation. So, if you guys want more videos like this, you already know what to do. Let's talk about it. So, Lio Rush came out. He had a little interview with Renee Young on the Oral Sessions podcast, and basically he was talking to Renee Young about his experience with Tony Khan versus Triple H and Vince McMahon. And of course, he goes on to say a lot of great things about Tony Khan. He felt wanted. He felt appreciated. He met Tony Khan during an NXT Loop show. Basically, Tony Khan was there. Tony Khan said that Lio Rush stood out. Lio Rush was the one that, he actually knew the match. He knew all the details and so forth. Essentially what happened then was Lio Rush was talking about Vince McMahon and Triple H. And specifically, he says this: Tony is such a great guy. That played a huge part in me wanting to be in AEW too. I didn't want another boss like Vince McMahon. I didn't want another boss like Triple H. People have different opinions about Hunter, but we always butt heads for different reasons. And I didn't feel like that with Tony. I felt super connected with him and felt like he was relatable. So when I hear comments like this, we got to take a look at the grand spectrum of things. Because on this side of things, we have Lio Rush, somebody who is a guy that plays second fiddle to Bobby Lashley, a 205 Live talent. And then we have Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson on this side. And basically, they're really far apart, right? Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, the top guys for their respective brands. Bryan Danielson, major player in WWE main roster. Adam Cole, a major player, the face of NXT. And all they had to say about Triple H and Vince McMahon was very, very, very good things. Lio Rush, on the other hand, he felt like he bumped heads. He didn't have a great relationship. He barely talked to Vince McMahon. Now, the thing here that I really want to take away from this story is in WWE, this is where the culture is a lot different from AEW. Tony Khan is available to anybody on the roster. Yes, he's a busy guy. Yes, he may not be able to make time for absolutely everything or everybody, but for the most part, any sort of talent, regardless of their placement of the card, can go to Tony Khan, share their ideas, and that's the culture that they've set forth in AEW. This is one of the main reasons why I like AEW, because Tony Khan, as a leader, leads by example. Now, I am not taking anything away from the success that Triple H and Vince McMahon have had in pro wrestling. However, it has been said numerous amount of times from talent that have been released that Vince McMahon is not readily available. And if you want to talk to someone about ideas, you have to go to talent relations. Now, some people in the past have said, hey, if I can't get to Vince, I get to Triple H and Stephanie, and sometimes things come out of it, and sometimes they don't. Triple H, on the other hand, is kind of like in the same boat as Vince McMahon, except Triple H is more available to his talent, according to a lot of talent that have been released. But just because he's available doesn't mean the relationships are always strong. And Lio Rush is proving that if you're not a major player in the WWE, you're not going to have a great relationship. Now, one thing I do have to say about Lio Rush is how much did you attempt to create a relationship with those guys? Because I know how it is in the workplace, in the real world outside of wrestling. If you're working somewhere and you want to input your ideas, if you want to, if you want to grow within a company, you do have to establish those relationships. I've seen it firsthand for myself. So with Lio Rush, how much of an effort did he make? And that's something that we don't necessarily know. But at the end of the day, it doesn't hide the fact that, it doesn't change the fact that Triple H and Vince McMahon, there's clearly a culture there where if you're not a top guy, you're not a focus, you don't get as much input, you don't get as much of that relationship, and that's a terrible culture, and that's not something I agree with, and I think that's one of the biggest downfalls about WWE. Max Caster challenges The Rock. Well, if you guys didn't know, Max Caster dropped a crazy freestyle, and, references to Beyonce and Deontay Wilder and TMZ. And of course, Max Caster tried to capitalize on this mainstream references. On Twitter, he challenged The Rock, and this is largely due to the fact that The Rock just dropped a verse on Tech Nine's new song. And guys, I'm a huge hip-hop guy. I like music. I like all kinds of music. I actually thought The Rock delivered a pretty awesome verse. The flow, the mixing, the mastering, Everything really hit with some intensity. Definitely a rap song that if you were in the gym working out to, you can definitely, just go nuts and go crazy with it. But the thing that I thought was really funny here was Max Caster obviously challenging The Rock. And here's the thing, guys. Sadly, The Rock hasn't responded. I want to talk about this though because The Rock has definitely not shied away from talking about watching AEW. He has congratulated AEW publicly before. His friends are in AEW. Obviously, his ties to Chris Jericho. The Rock is a wrestling fan, so ultimately he wants to see wrestling grow. Don't forget, The Rock actually appeared on Impact Wrestling, inducting Ken Shamrock into the Hall of Fame. A lot of times people forget that. I think this was a good move by Max Caster, getting TMZ and everybody tagged. If at one point The Rock does accept the challenge, or if The Rock even acknowledges Max Caster, that improves things greatly for Max Caster and AEW. So, right now The Rock hasn't responded. But really interesting stuff, and really cool that Max Caster continues to reference mainstream and daily things, because whatever's happening in the world today, if he's able to reference it, it just makes it a lot more authentic and a lot more real. And yeah, who knows, man? Max Caster is a character that I think has huge potential in the long run, but it does mean that eventually he'll have to split away from the Acclaimed. Final story of the day, new AEW streaming service. That's right, guys. Tony Khan is in talks with the people at WarnerMedia. And, I think this is something special. I think this is something that we know for a while we've been waiting for. Tony Khan's been asked this a lot. He was speaking to Brandon Walker on the Rasslin podcast from Barstool. And essentially he said, look, we're trying to build a library. This is why we have over hundreds plus of Dynamites and Rampages and pay-per-view specials and pay-per-views and all these different things. I look at what AEW has done with their YouTube channel. Road to series, Rampage buy-in show, right? Like there's so much content that AEW is focusing on that AT&T and WarnerMedia probably want a piece of it. And I know in the past there's been rumors about AEW moving their library to HBO Max to help HBO Max get off the ground. HBO Max is not really that successful compared to like Netflix or Hulu. Obviously, we have Peacock and Paramount. There are a ton of streaming services. And then you have WWE, who went from standalone WWE Network and moved it to the Peacock Network, which is owned by NBCU. So I do think AEW is developing their own streaming service. It's very clear by the way Tony Khan responds to this. The real question is, are they going to build it using the same technology as HBO Max? Are they going to build different technology? Or are they going to just include this in HBO Max? And I think AT&T and WarnerMedia's long-term play here is obviously more content. And that is because when you look at, for example, ABC, Disney, they own ESPN Plus, they own Hulu, right? They own these streaming services. AT&T and WarnerMedia are doing a merger with Discovery Plus, and it's going to be Discovery plus Warner Bros. Or something like that. The merger is expected to end in 2022. So I'm talking about this because very well, HBO needs to get back into sports, whether it's boxing, whether it's wrestling. You don't know what it's going to be, but I think eventually AEW just shifts everything over to HBO Max, and I think this is going to come at a large price tag for Warner, which is fantastic because now this also gets more eyes on the AEW product. Also, you have to consider, how would AEW distribute their pay-per-views? Is it going to be included in like the $10 version of HBO Max, or do you got to do what you do now with Bleacher Report Live and pay money for it? It's just stuff like that, guys. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. My name is Zango. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.